exceedingly well. I'm going to be reading this stream because Poppy is currently scared of a bunch of fireworks and all that, so I want to calm him and make him feel happy, you know. So, if you allow me to, I'm going to do some rather basic setup. I'm going to take these Dr. Pepper cans off of my desk because, my god, are they wobbly. But you get to listen to my chair and see me do some setup as I do some stuff here. Please do enjoy, darling. Hey Rat, how are you doing, hon? Everything well? I'm just with my model here. Okay. That's better, yeah? Let me go move my microphone just a bit closer. There. Hello, Rat. How you been, darling? I hope you haven't been too busy. And... ooh, applications. Good, darling. Good, good. I know you can do it. I know you had it in you, so congratulations, and may it all go well and you get accepted into the one where you want to be. But, no, I still have to move my model. I actually want to see the shoulders a little bit more. And you can see the jank of it too. Let me go add some stuff to it as well. Christmas lights are a bit much. Sunglasses. I can add bread. How cute. I'm just gonna add this with a meme. You don't see anything, okay? I'll just put that right there. No, you are welcome. Oh, I know you can see it. It's one of those things that just happens. But here, let me move that. How do I do this again? Okay, remove all from it. There. Is there anything in particular you want me to add? I don't know. It's not really Christmas anymore, but okay. We'll add that. Let me go sit straight. Bonjour, madame. It is Le Felix. Okay, let me go, just leave it there for now. Okay, we. Okay, now, let me go back to over here. I think I'm about to modify my, little stream elements shoutouts. That's way too much. Okay. Now for me to actually find some stuff to read for you. And, Rat, since you are here and you're being of great help, is there any, redeem you want me to do? Just for you. Okay. Ooh. Oh. Oh, that's just a little Winnie the Pooh. That's nice. Put this back up. I'll go hide this stuff. Bye-bye. You'll just get to see the wonderful floating thing there. Oh, and welcome in, Piggy. You want to have pets? Okay, I can give you a pet. That's not a problem. Good girl. Let me just pull these out. I'll give you a good girl, too. Good girl. You're doing such a great and amazing job at this applications. You are just putting out so many. And I know it's the holidays, you may not celebrate all of them, but it is a bit stressful, you know. So please, just come here and relax, puppy. Well, you're not really a puppy, but just come and relax, please. It's all gonna be okay. The new year will start. You'll get to do plenty of amazing fun things. And just relax here, okay? You can do that. It's alright. There's nothing to be afraid of. It'll all come to pass. There. Let me go, actually read Winnie the Pooh now. Because someone also told me they wanted me to read that for them. Okay. This is Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. Yeah, no problem, Rat. It's always fun. You don't like fireworks either? Puppy doesn't like them either, too. It's just too much loud noises for them. They also can't handle storms as well. This is Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees and other stories begin. Here is Edward Bear coming downstairs now, bump, 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 the back of his head behind Christopher Robin, as it is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes, oh, no problem. Wait, do I not have a work command? That's funny. But sometimes he feels feels that there really is another way. If only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, he is at the bottom, ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you were going to say, but I thought he was a boy. So did I, said Christopher Robin. So you can't call him Winnie. I don't. I'll just quickly add a command. Let me move this microphone. Yeah, I'll have to go modify that one thing too, but that's alright. Ooh. There we go. Work command has been added. However odd it is. Yep. I'm definitely going to have to change those stream elements announcements. Yes. He's Winnie the Pooh. Or their Pooh. Yeah, that's mispronounced. Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what there means? Ah, yes, now I do, I said quickly, and I hope you do too, because it's all the explanation you're going to get. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening, what about a story? Said Christopher Robin. What about a story? I said. Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one? I suppose I could, I said. What sort of stories does he like? About himself, because he's that sort of bear. Oh, I see. Now, back over here. So, could you very sweetly? I'll try, I said. So I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. What does under name mean? Asked Christopher Robin. It means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it. Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. Now I am, said a growly voice. Then I will go on, said I. One day, when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, that buzzing noise means there's something. You couldn't get a buzzing noise like that. Just buzzing and buzzing, without it meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise. And the only reason for a buzzing noise I know of is because you're a bee. And he thought another long time, and said, and the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey. And then he got up and said, and the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it. So he began to climb the tree, and he climbed and climbed and climbed, and as he climbed he sang a little song to himself. It went like this. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. Then he climbed a little further and a little further, and then just a little further. By that time he thought of another song. It's very funny, thought that. If bears were bees, they build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all the stairs. He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch, crack! Oh, help, said Pooh, as he dropped 10 feet on the branch below him. If only I hadn't, he said, as he bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. You see what I meant to do, he explained, as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. What I meant to do, of course, he admitted, as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. It all comes, I suppose, he decided, as he said goodbye to the last branch and spun around 3 times and flew gracefully into a gross bush. It all comes to liking honey so much. Oh, help. I'll go move my microphone just closer so I can hear my voice better here. He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. The only person he thought of was Christopher Robin. Was that me? Said Christopher Robin in an awed voice, hardly daring to believe it. That was you. Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. Good morning. Christopher Robin, he said. Good morning, Winnie the Pooh, said you. I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you. A balloon? Yes, I just said to myself, coming along. I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as balloon about him. Now, let me go, increase the gain just a little bit. That way you can hear me open my jar of honey. I said to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering, what do you want a balloon for, you said. Winnie the Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening, put a paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, honey. But you don't get honey with balloons. I do, said Pooh. Well, it just happened that you had been to a party the day before at the house of your friend Piglet, and you had balloons at the party. You had a big green balloon, and one of Rabbit's relations had a big blue one, and left it behind, being really too young to go to the party at all, and so you had brought the green one and the blue one home with you. Which one would you like? asked Pooh. He put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. It's like this, he said. When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you're only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you're only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is most likely? Wouldn't they notice you underneath the balloon? You asked. They might or they might not, said Winnie the Pooh. You can never tell with bees. He thought for a moment and said, I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them. Then you better have the blue balloon. And so it was decided. Also, don't mind me adding honey to my tea. It helps with my voice. Well, you both went out with the blue balloon, and you took your gun with you, just in case, as you always did. And Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of, and rolled until he was black all over. And then, when the balloon was blown up, as big, and you and Pooh were both holding on to the string, you suddenly let go, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up to the sky, and stayed there, level with the top of the tree, about 20 feet away from it. Hooray, you shouted. Isn't that fine? Shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. What do I look like? Oh, do I have to move this again? Yes. What do I look like? You look like a bear holding onto a balloon, you said. Not, said Pooh anxiously, not like a small black cloud in a blue sky. Not very much. Oh, welcome in, Kane, darling. Please do enjoy it. I'm reading Winnie the Pooh just for you, sweetie. But please do enjoy Pumpkin. It is, so far, we're reading about the exploits of Winnie the Pooh as he tries to become a black storm cloud that definitely isn't a bear rolled in mud, all in the vain attempt to catch honey. I suppose there's always a nice thing about Winnie the Pooh, isn't there? Okay, stirring a little bit more honey. Oh, no problem, darling. Not very much. Ah, well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And, as you say, you can never tell with bees. There was no wind to blow him nearer to the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. And after a little while he called down to you. Christopher Robin, he said in a loud voice. Hallo. I think the bees suspect something. What sort of thing? I don't know, but it tells me that they're suspicious. me go put the lid back on my wonderful tea with honey. Perhaps they think that you're after their honey. It may be that. You can never tell with bees. There was another little silence, and they called down to you again. Christopher Robin. Oh, yes. Have you an umbrella in your house? I think so. I wish you could bring it out here and walk up and down with it, and look up at me every now and again and say, "Tut, tut. It looks like rain." I think if you did that, it would help the deception which we were practicing on these bees. Well, you laughed to yourself, silly old bear, but you didn't say it aloud because you were fond of him, and you went home for your umbrella. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh, as soon as he got back to the tree. I was beginning to get anxious. I had discovered that bees are now definitely suspicious. "Shall I put up my umbrella?" You said. "Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down here?" "No." "A pity. Well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain,' I shall do what I can do by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go." So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. Excuse the burp. Yeah, I had to scroll up. "How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings loud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. And it makes him very proud to be a little cloud." The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them indeed left their nests and flew around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song, and one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment, then got up again. "Oh, it makes you happy, puppy." "Well, I'm happy about that. Please do just enjoy." Christopher Robin, ow, or Christopher Ow Robin, called out the cloud. "Yes, I have just been thinking. I have come to a very important decision that these are the wrong sort of bees." "Are they?" "Quite the wrong sort. So I should think that they would make the wrong sort of honey. Shouldn't you?" "Would they?" "Yes. I think I shall come down." "How?" asked you. Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he had let go of the string, he would simply fall. Bump. And he didn't like the idea of that. So he went for a long time, and then he said, "Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun?" "Of course I have," said you. "But if I do that, it will spoil the balloon. But if you don't," said Pooh, "I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me." When he put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. "Ow," said Pooh. "Did I miss?" "You didn't exactly miss," said Pooh, "but you missed the balloon." "I know. These bears, criminals." "I'm so sorry," said you, and you fired again. This time you hit the balloon, and the air came out slowly, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. "Hello, Bear Bread." "Oh, coming in to enjoy. Okay, everyone get ready for some nice ASMR. Okay, let me just put it right over here. A free yawn too. Let me go do some nice tea with some delicious honey. Oh, congratulations, Brad. In only a few more minutes. Oh, thank you. Nico, Happy New Year's to you, darling. Please do get some alcohol in you and get ready for, oh yes, bread, I believe. Oh, Brad. I can't remember where you are. I'm suddenly blanking on it. Oh well, that's alright. You just be a cute little Brad. Now to the kisses. I hope you enjoyed those. Okay. Now may I ask, what is everyone doing for the New Year's? I'm honestly just not the type of person who celebrates too much. For Christmas, as an example, my mother and I just cooked a little meal and then that was really it. Oh, puppy. If you have any way to just block out the music, or block out the fireworks, increase me and just cover your body in a whole bunch of blankets, you should be able to hide some of it. Okay. I just spilled some tea on me. Ignore that. Let me go read more of this. I'm so sorry. And you fired again, and this time you hit the balloon, and the air came out slowly, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon that by the time that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week, and whenever a fly came and settled down on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, if I'm not sure, that this is why he always called you Pooh. It is rather sad.
Nice.
Oh, thank you for the follow. RNJ or RNJ Falf DML Zikflirth. It's very much appreciated. Let's hope you have a manufacturer's warranty. I can't remember what you said about them, but I do hope there is one for you, darling. Is that the end of the story? Okay. Have fun, Nico. And, tell Darling Meow that, all of the cat girls are coming after him. And they all say that his ponytail's very cute. And don't forget to use the Nico slide mode. Is that the end of the story? Asked Christopher Robin. That's the end of that one. There are others about Pooh and me, about Piglet and Rabbit and all of you. Don't you remember? I do remember. And then when I try to remember, I forget. That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump. Oh, you know it, Nico. You gotta use those wonderful emotes to their fullest. They didn't catch it, did they? No. Pooh couldn't because he has an A brain. Did you catch it? Well, that comes into the story. Oh, let me go back here. Click. Christopher Robin nodded. I do remember, he said. Only Pooh doesn't very well, and that's why he likes having it told to him again, because because that's a real story, not just remembering. That's just how I feel, I said. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh and hugged his bear, picked his bear up by the leg and walked off to the door. Happy New Year's, Egg. Happy New Year's. May you have a wonderful time, and... Ooh. Here's a emote idea, or a redeem idea, everyone. Add something to model, or add asset to model. Do you support that? I think you might. Oh, I'm going to burp here, so I'm going to mute. That was a good burp. Picked his bear up by the leg and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door he turned and said, "Coming to see me have my bath?" "I might," I said. I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I? Not a bit. He nodded and went out, and in a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. Okay, let me, quickly add that then. Okay, let me just type that into chat. Okay, let me go to Twitch. I'll go move this to another window so I can do it with much more efficiency. So, even that better not be playing noise, how good it's muted. Okay. Creator dashboard. Okay, viewer rewards, channel points, individual rewards, request queue. I want to add some here. I know this is great ASMR. Okay. Okay. Add asset to model. How much should it be, darling? Do you have any number in mind? $250 perhaps? Or 500? Let's do 300. And make this one 500. Oh, I know you're gonna get VIP. Okay, I believe I had them. Good. Okay, back to this. I mean, I could also do one thing. Next chapter. There. Chapter 2, in which Pooh goes visiting and gets into a tight place. Edward Bear, known to his friends as Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short, was walking through the forest one day, humming proudly to himself. He had made up a little hum that very morning, as he was doing his stoutness exercises in front of the grass. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, as he stretched up as high as he could go, and then tra-la-la and tra-la, oh help, la, as he tried to reach his toes after breakfast. He had said it over and over to himself until he had learned it off by heart. And now, as he is humming it right through properly, it went like this. Tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum tiddly um-tum, tiddly-iddly, tiddle, iddle, tiddle-iddle, 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 rum-tum-tum, tiddle-um. Oh. Well, he was humming this hum to himself and walking along gaily, wondering what what everybody else was doing, and what it felt like being someone else. Then suddenly he came to a sandy bank, and in the bank was a large hole. Ah, said Pooh, if I know anything about anything, that hole means rabbit, and rabbit means company, and company means food and listening to me humming and such like, rum-tum-tum, tiddle-um. So he bent down, put his head into the hole, and called out, "Is anybody at home?" There was a sudden scuffling noise from inside the hole, and then silence. "Oh, whoa, your bunny hole, puppy. It looks very delicious this morning. Very deep and dark, too." "No," said the voice, and then added, "You needn't shout so loud. I heard you quite well the first time." "Bother," said Pooh. "Isn't there anybody here at all?" "Nobody." Winnie the Pooh shook his head out of the hole and thought for a little, and then he thought to himself, there must be somebody there, because somebody must have said nobody. So he put his head back in the hole and said, "Hello, Rabbit, is that you?" "No," said Rabbit, in a different sort of voice this time. "But isn't that Rabbit's voice?" "I don't think so," said Rabbit. "It mustn't meant to be." "Oh, Pooh." "Oh," said Pooh. He took his head out of the hole and had another think, and then he put it back and said, "Well, could you kindly tell me where Rabbit is?" "He has gone to see his friend Pooh Bear, who is a great friend of his." "But this is me," said Bear, very much surprised. "What sort of me?" "Pooh Bear." "Are you sure?" said Rabbit, still more surprised. Quite sure," said Pooh. "Oh, well then, come in." So Pooh pushed and pushed and pushed his way through the hole, and at last he got in. Pooh sounds like a top today. "You were quite right," said Rabbit, looking at him all over. "It is you. Glad to see you." "Who did you think it was?" "Well, I wasn't quite sure. I know how it is in the forest. One can't have anybody coming into one's house. One has to be careful. What about a mouthful of something?" "Oh my, stuck in the wall. Oh, whoa." Pooh always liked a little something at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was very glad to see Rabbit getting out the plates and mugs, and when Rabbit said, "Honey or condensed milk with your bread?" he was so excited that he said both, and then, so as not to seem greedy, he added, "But don't bother about the bread, please." And for a long time after, he said nothing, until at last, humming to himself, in a rather sticky voice, he got up and shook Rabbit lovingly by the paw, and said that he must be going on. "Must you?" said Rabbit, politely. "Well," said Pooh, "if I could stay a little longer, if you," and he tried to look very hard in the direction of the larder. "As a matter of fact," said Rabbit, "I was going up myself directly." "Oh, well then, I'll be going on. Goodbye." "Well, goodbye, if you're sure you won't have any more." "Is there any more?" Rabbit took the covers off the dish and said, "No, there wasn't." "I thought not," said Pooh, nodding to himself. Well, goodbye. I must be going on. So he started to climb out of the hole, and he pulled with his front paws and pushed with his back paws, and in a little while his nose out of the open again, then his ears, then his paws, then his shoulders, and then— "Oh, help," said Pooh. "I'd rather better go back." "Oh, bother," said Pooh. "I shall have to go on." "I can't do either," said Pooh. "Oh, help and bother." By this time Rabbit wanted to go for a walk too, and finding the front door full, he went out by the back door, and came round to Pooh and looked at him. "Hello, are you stuck?" No," said Pooh carelessly, "just resting and thinking, humming to myself." "Here, give us a paw." Pooh Bear stretched out a paw, and Rabbit pulled and pulled and pulled. "Ow," cried Pooh, "you're hurting." "The fact is," said Rabbit, "you're stuck. When it comes," said Pooh crossly, "of not having front door." "It comes," said Pooh crossly, "of not having front doors big enough." "Oh, congratulations, puppy. You predicted that I was going to get stuck. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to pull or push him out? Whichever one will you do?" Christopher Robin. Ah, yes. "It all comes," said Rabbit sternly, "of eating too much." "And I thought at the time," said Rabbit, "if only I didn't like to say anything." "Ooh, you want to pet the round, soft, squishy, warm, wonderful Pooh Bear. Now that does sound great." "Of eating too much, I thought at the time," said Rabbit. "Only I didn't like to say anything," said Rabbit. "That one of us was eating too much," said Rabbit. "And I knew if it wasn't me," he said. Well, I shall go and fetch Christopher Robin." Christopher Robin lived at the other end of the forest, and when he came back with Rabbit, and he saw the front half of Pooh, he said— "Silly old bear," in such a loving voice that everybody felt quite hopeful again. "I was just beginning to think," said Bear, sniffing slightly, "that Rabbit might never be able to use his front door again, and I should hate that," he said. "So should I," said Rabbit. "Use his front door again?" said Christopher Robin. "Well, of course he'll use his front door again." "Good," said Rabbit. "If we can't pull you out, Pooh, we'll just have to push you back." Rabbit scratched his whiskers thoughtfully and pulled out that. When once Pooh was pushed back, he was back, and of course nobody was more glad to see Pooh than he was. Still, there it was. Some lived in trees, some lived underground, and— "You mean I'd never get out," said Pooh. "I mean that having got so far, it seems a pity to waste it." Christopher Robin nodded. "Then there's only one thing to be done," he said. "We shall have to wait for you to get thin again." How long does getting thin take?" "About a week, I should think." "But I can't stay here for a whole week." "You can stay here, all right, old silly old bear. It's getting out which is difficult." "Well, we'll read to you," said Rabbit cheerfully, "and I hope it won't snow," he added. "And I say, old fellow, you're taking up a good deal of room in my house. You don't mind if I use your back legs as a towel horse? Because, there they are, doing nothing, and it should be very convenient just to hang towels on them." "A week," said Pooh gloomily. "What about meals?" "I'm afraid no meals," said Christopher Robin, "because getting thin quicker." But we will read to you. The bear began to sigh, and then he found he couldn't because he was too tightly stuck, and then a tear rolled down his eye, and he said, "Then would you read a sustaining book, such as would help with comfort, such as would help and comfort a wedge bear in great tightness? Oh, woe." So for a week, Christopher Robin began to read that sort of book at the north end of Pooh, and Rabbit hung his washing on the south end, and between Bear felt himself getting slenderer and slenderer. And at the end of the week, Christopher Robin said, "Now." So he took hold of Pooh's front paws, and Rabbit took hold of Christopher Robin, and all Rabbit's friends and relations took hold of Rabbit, and they all pulled together. And for a long time Pooh only said "ow" and "oh," and all of a sudden he said "pop," as if a cork were coming out of a bottle. That's a nice noise. And Christopher Robin and Rabbit and all of Rabbit's friends and relations went head over heels backwards, and on top of them came Winnie the Pooh, free. So, with a nod of thanks to his friends, he went on with his walk through the forest, humming proudly of himself. But Christopher Robin looked at him lovingly and said to himself, "Silly old bear." Okay, next chapter. Let me go check very quick how many stories of Winnie the Pooh there are. Oh my, 10 in entirety. Now that is a lot, isn't there? Here. And let me go add a D to that. Reading Winnie the Pooh. There. I'm sure people would greatly enjoy it. Oh, thank you. Okay. Chapter 3 of Winnie the Pooh, in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a wuzzle. I remember this one. The Piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree, and Beech Tree was in the middle of the forest, and the Piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board which had "Trespassers W" on it. When Christopher Robin asked the Piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name. Sure, and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin couldn't be called Trespassers W, and Piglet said yes, you could, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William, and his grandfather had two names in case he lost one: Trespassers after an uncle, and William after Trespassers. "I've got two names," said Christopher Robin carelessly. "Well, there you are, and that proves it." Oh, I need a stretch here. And that is... Ooh, got a little bit woozy from that. Also from the fact I haven't ate today. And there you are, and that proves it, says Piglet. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking around and round in a circle, thinking of something else, and when Piglet called to him, he just went on walking. "Hello," said Piglet, "how are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Winnie the Pooh, very mysteriously. Let me read that. "Tracking something." "Tracking what?" said Piglet, coming closer. "Well, that's just what I asked myself. I asked myself, what?" What do you think you'll answer? I shall have to wait to catch up with that, said Winnie the Pooh. Now look there. He pointed to the ground in front of him. What do you see there? Tracks, said Piglet. Paw marks. He gave a little squeak of excitement. Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a wuzzle? Ooh, very mysterious wuzzles. It may be, said Pooh. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You can never tell with paw marks. With these few words he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. What's the matter? Asked Piglet. It's a very funny thing, said Bear, and there seem to be two animals now. This, whatever it was, had been joined by another, whatever it was, and the two of them now preceding the company. Oh, it seems like Mother got home. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals? Piglet scratched his ear in a sort of nice way and said that he had nothing to do until Friday, and would be delayed to come, in case it really was a wuzzle. You mean in case there really is two wuzzles, said Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday, so off they went together. Oh, she is home. I'll go BRB here. Okay, let me figure out where I was. I'll probably have to go speak to her soonish. There was a small spinning of large trees just here, and it seems as if the two wuzzles, if that is what they are, or were, had been going round this spinney. So round this spinney went Pooh and Piglet after them, Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather Trespassers W had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather Trespassers W had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath and other matters of interest, and Pooh wondering what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was two grandfathers that they were after now, and if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say, and still the tracks went on in front of them. Suddenly Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of him. Look. What? Said Piglet, with a jump, and then, to show they had been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice in an exercising sort of way. The tracks, said Pooh. A third animal has joined the two. Oh, cried Piglet. Do you think there is another wuzzle? Or woozle? I don't really know how to say it, but I'll say ooh. No, said Pooh. Just because it makes different marks, it's either two woozles or one, as it might be whizzle or two, as it might be whizzles and one. If so, it is woozle. Let's continue to follow them. Oh no, darling. Okay, turn me up so you can hear everything. Get ready for all that. So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now, in case the three animals in front of them were of hostile intent, and Piglet wished very much that his grandfather T.W. were there instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because they liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling very hot and anxious. Than ever in his life before, there were 4 animals in front of them. Do you see, Piglet? Look at their tracks. 3, as if it were woozles, and 1, as if it was Whizzle and another woozle has joined them. And so it seemed to be. There were tracks crossing over there and here, getting muddled up with each other there. Oh, but quite plainly, every now and then, the tracks of 4 sets a pause. I think, said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found it to be very little comfort. I think that I have just remembered something, that I have remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday and shan't be able to do tomorrow. But I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now. We'll do it this afternoon, and come with you, said Pooh. It isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon, said Piglet quickly. It is a very particular morning thing, and it has to be done in the morning, and if possible between the hours of... What time would you say this was? About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun. Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So, I really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me. What's that? Pooh looked up to the sky and then heard the whistle again. He looked up the branches of the tree, and he saw a friend of his. It's Christopher Robin, he said. Ah, then you'll be all right, said Piglet. You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye. And then he trotted off as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of all danger again. Christopher Robin came slowly down his tree. Silly old bear, he said. What are you doing? First he went around the spinny tree twice. Or the spinny... Oh, give me a second. Oh no, you're feeling hot and anxious. Okay, pay more attention to my voice and try to relax, darling. Then Piglet ran after you and you went round again together. Then you were just going around the 4th time. Wait a minute, said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought, in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks, and then scratched his nose twice, and stood up. Yes, said Winnie the Pooh. I see now, said Winnie the Pooh. I have been foolish and deluded, he said. And I am a bear of no brain at all. You are the best bear in the world, or in all the world, said Christopher Robin soothingly. Am I? Said Pooh hopefully. And then he brightened up suddenly. Anyhow, he said, it is nearly luncheon time, and so he went home for it. Ah, that's nice. That was chapter 3. Chapter 4, in which Eeyore loses his tail and Pooh finds one. Oh my. The old gray donkey Eeyore stood by himself in a thirsty corner of the woods. His front feet fell apart, his front feet well apart, his head on one side, and thought about things. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself, why? And sometimes he thought, wherefore? And sometimes he thought, inasmuch as which? And sometimes he didn't quite know what he was thinking about. So when Winnie the Pooh came stumping along, Eeyore was very glad to stop thinking for a bit, in order to say, how do you do, in a gloomy manner to him. And how are you? Said Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore shook his head from side to side. Not very how, he said. I don't seem to have felt at all how for a long time. Dear, dear, said Pooh. I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look at you. So Eeyore stood there, gazing sadly at the ground. Winnie the Pooh walked all round him once. Oh, welcome in, Nuki-kun. Please do enjoy yourself, Nuki. I'll send you some more cat pics sometime, and please do enjoy. I don't know. I'll probably have one more chapter to read, and then I'll go BRB and speak to my mother, and I'll just play some ASMR sounds. It'll be nice. If you ever heard ASMR at university, you know what it's gonna be like. So Pierre stood there, gazing sadly about the ground, and Winnie the Pooh walked all around him once. "Why, what's happened to your tail?" he said in surprise. "What has happened to it?" said Eeyore. "Well, I always like sending you stuff, Lukey, so it's never a problem." "What has happened to it?" said Eeyore. "It isn't there." "Are you sure?" "Well, either a tail is or isn't there. You can't make a mistake about that. And yours isn't there." "Then what is?" "Nothing. Let's have a look," said Eeyore, and he turned round slowly to the place where his tail had been a little while ago, and then, finding he couldn't catch up to it, he looked around the other way, until he came back to where he was at first, and then he put down his head, and looked between his front legs, and at last he said with a long, sad sigh, "I believe you're right." "Of course I'm right," said Pooh. "All accounts for a good deal," said Eeyore gloomily. "It explains everything. No wonder. You must have left it somewhere," said Winnie the Pooh. "Somebody must have taken it." "Ah," said Eeyore. "How like them," he added after a long silence. Pooh felt that he ought to say something helpful about it. He didn't quite know what, so he decided to do something helpful instead. "Eeyore," he said solemnly, "I, Winnie the Pooh, will find your tail for you." "Thank you, Pooh," answered Eeyore. "You're a real friend," he said. "Not like some," he said. So Winnie the Pooh went off to find Eeyore's tail. It was a fine spring morning in the forest when he started out. Little soft clouds played happily in the blue sky, skipping from time to time in front of the sun, as if they had come to put it out, and then sliding away suddenly, so that the next might have his turn. Though them and between them the sun shone bravely, and a corpse which had worn its furs all year round seemed old and dotty now. The new green lace which the breeches had put on so prettily, though corpse and spinney marched bare down open slopes of gorse and heather, over rocky beds of streams, up steep banks of sandstone into the heather again, and so at last, tired and hungry, to the 100-acre wood, for it was the 100-acre wood that Owl lived. "If anyone knows anything about anything," said Bear to himself, "it's Owl who knows something about something," he said. "Or my name's not Winnie the Pooh," he said. Which it was, he added. So there you are. Owl lived in Chestnuts, an old-world residence of great charm, which was grander than anyone else or anybody else's, or so seemed to Bear, because it had been both a knocker and bell pull. Underneath the knocker there was a notice which said, "Please ring if an answer is required." Underneath the bell pull was a notice which said, "Please knock if an answer is not required." These notices had been written by Christopher Robin, who was the only one in the forest who could spell, for Owl, wise though in many ways, able to read and write and spell his own name, W-O-L, yet somehow all the pieces of delicate words like measles and buttered toast. Winnie the Pooh read the two notices very carefully, first from left to right, afterwards, in case he had missed some of it, from right to left. Then, to make quite sure, he knocked and pulled the knocker. He pulled and knocked the bell rope, and he called out in a very loud voice, "Owl, I require an answer. It's Bear speaking." And the door opened, and Owl looked out. Terrible and sad. I missed a line there. Hello, Pooh. He said, how's things? Terrible and sad, said Pooh, because Eeyore, who is a friend of mine, lost his tail, and he's moping about. So could you very kindly tell me how to find it for him? Well, said Owl, the customary procedure in such cases is as follows. What is testimony, proceed cake mean? Said Pooh, for I am a bear of very little brain, and long words bother me. It means the thing to do. As long as it means that, don't mind, said Pooh humbly. The thing to do is as follows. First, issue a reward. Then, just a moment, said Pooh, holding up his paw. What do we do to this? What are you saying? You sneezed just as you were going to tell me. I didn't sneeze. Yes, you did, Owl. Excuse me, Pooh. I didn't. You can't sneeze without knowing it. Well, you can't know it without something having been sneezed. What I said was, first issue a reward. You're doing it again, said Pooh sadly. Winnie the Pooh. I know. Pooh is, I think my aunt has a admiration for Winnie the Pooh. She does enjoy him greatly, and I remember seeing her at various points just watching it. You're doing it again, said Pooh sadly. A reward, said Owl very loudly. We write a notice to say that we will give a large something to anybody who finds Eeyore's tail. I see, said Pooh, nodding his head, talking about large somethings. He went on dreamily. I generally have small something about now. Meow! Oh, come in, hon. Please do enjoy. I'm currently reading Chapter 4 of Winnie the Pooh. So please do enjoy, and if you have any redeems you'd like to do, just redeem them. I see, taking a bunch of some things. About this time in the morning, he looked wistfully at the cupboard in the corner of Owl's parlor, just a mouthful of condensed milk or whatnot, with perhaps a lick of honey. Well then, said Owl, we will write out this notice, and we will put it up all over the forest. A lick of honey, murmured Bear to himself. Or not, as the case may be. He gave a deep sigh and tried very hard to listen to what Owl was saying. But Owl went on, using longer and longer words, until at last he came back to where he started. And he explained to the person to write out the notice was Christopher Robin. And do tell me how your day has been, Meow. I do hope it's been great. But Owl went on and on. It was he who wrote the ones on my front door for me. Did you see them, Pooh? For some time now, Pooh had been saying yes and no in return, with his eyes shut, and all the Owl saying, having said yes last time, he said no, not at all, now without really knowing what Owl was talking about. You didn't see them, said Owl, a little surprised. Come and look at them now. So they went outside, and Pooh looked at the knocker and noticed below it, and he looked at the bell rope and noticed below it. And the more he looked at the bell rope, the more he felt they had seen something like it somewhere else sometime before. Handsome bell rope, isn't it? Said Owl. Pooh nodded. It reminds me of something, he said, but I can't think of what. Where did you get it? I came across it in the forest. It was hanging over a bush, and I thought it was at first somebody lived there, so I rang it and nothing happened. Then I rang it again very loudly, and it came off in my hand, and as nobody seemed to want it, I took it home, and Owl, said Pooh solemnly, You made a mistake. Somebody did want that. Who? Eeyore, my dear friend Eeyore. He was very fond of it. Attached to what? Said Winnie the Pooh sadly. So with all these words he unhooked it and carried it back to Eeyore, and when Christopher Robin had nailed it, attached. Fond of it, attached to it, said Winnie the Pooh sadly. So with these words he unhooked it and carried back to Eeyore, when Christopher Robin had nailed it back on in its right place again. Eeyore frisked about the forest, waving his tail so happily that Winnie the Pooh came over all funny, and had to hurry home for a little snack as something to sustain him. And, wiping his mouth half an hour afterwards, he sang to himself proudly. Who found the tail? I, said Pooh. At 1:45, only it was 11:15 really, I found the tail. Now, I'm going to play some ASMR Universe very quickly. So, ASMR Universe. Oh, wait. I'm pretty sure I have to go to my, main page. Let me just move that here. ASMR Universe. Okay, and just ignore me doing the setup of ASMR Universe here. It's a very fun thing to do. Okay, and it's loaded. Now I will go. I'll go put on headphones here, and then I will go speak to my mother as she has things. Okay. Custom. Oh. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, let me go to this. I know this is a bit jank, everyone, but please stay with me for a bit. Add audio source. Yeah. It is going to be. The volume of that. Add a node. to be right back. And I hope to see you all very soon. I just have to go talk to people. Hazy, the attentive pup who needs all the attention. Your attention whore. I'm sure you have no problem with me calling you what you are, Hazy. You just want all the attention for yourself right now, pup. Also, hi, I'm back. But I'm sure I didn't need to say that. I was speaking to my mother and she got, what was it? Also, Hazy, I'm gonna, this is a bit unrelated, but I'm gonna have to ask you how to set up stream elements and all those, 'cause I don't know. Or you might have to ask me how. And thank you for the welcome back, Loki. And, wonderful puppy. Yeah, I'll probably just have to ask me how. Though, I believe they're no longer on Discord yet. Oh, that's truly a tragic thing. Okay, let me go back to Audio Mixer and... well, I get rid of the machine. Just take that volume. Take that down. And pills. There. I just love the bird. You can't deal with the bell? Or I can't hear you with the bell. Okay. Okay. Let me go take this, lower it to, let me do a sound check. I did notice a funny thing once I come back from the ASMR, people leave. Okay. Let me go check the noise. Sound check. Okay. Birds are still relatively loud. There. It just occurred to me, Hazy. Why would I ask a pop like you? I should just go right to the source and ask me how. But that's alright. Mistakes were made. Now, Hazy, do you have any redeems you want me to do? You can look at the whole list of them. Really? Oh my, oh my. Okay, and unpinned message. Danny. Oh my. Danny is a good boy. I'm just going to leave the birds in the background because they're always nice. But are you ready for me to get back to wait, do I have a degrade? I don't know if I do. Do I have a degrade? Degrade. I don't have a degrade, but I'll just treat it as a degrade for your puppy. Or, in this case, pup. Hazy, you bad, stinky little rat pup. All smelly and covered in dirt. All sticky, too. From your filth. Being a bad little pup. When's the last time you even showered? I can smell you from all the way over here. And you smell like a smelly boy. But that's okay. You can just let Daddy wash you. Sniffer. You want bad pup, not stink degrading. Fine. Hazy, you bad pup. Why haven't you been sending me more messages? I do need all the attention from you, Pop. But when was the last time you even sent any? Let's check. Hazy Legs. Oh my. December 30th. Yesterday. And now you send one. You think that's enough from one Pop like you? Of just a message of now. It makes me want to burp in your ears, Pop. Such a bad Pop. Do I have to take you and put you into the jar again? My. Oh, look at you, Pop. So popular. But still couldn't just send me a simple hello. Can I get a feet pic? Couldn't you send me that? Oh, there's people in front of your apartment complex setting off fireworks in front of your window. Oh no. Okay, we'll get back to reading so I can at least get some form of distraction. Hazy, you're not the first person who wants that. And you know it. So you're in good hands, Pop. Perhaps after stream, maybe you'll enjoy it greatly. But, Puppy is currently having problems with loud noises from the fireworks and the whole New Year's stuff. So if you, excuse me at least, Pop, I have to go, read some stuff for Puppy. Let's see how jank the model is. Pretty jank is the answer. Oh yeah, the eyes are all horrible. Let me go to Beecham Studio and reset that. Oh yeah, the eyes. Is there a key I can press to get rid of that? Okay, there was. Let me go configure real quick. You don't know who Puppy is? Oh. Puppy is the one who complained about the fireworks. And they're the one reason why I started stream today, because they're just having a bad time, you know. They can't deal with loud noises, and I remember playing Minecraft with them, and they got scared by the thunderstorm, so it's understandable. Oh, you hit your face on the table. Oh no. Okay, back to Winnie the Pooh, Chapter 5, in which Piglet meets a Heffalump. One day, when Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh and Piglet were all talking together, Christopher Robin finished the mouthful he was eating, said carelessly, "I saw a Heffalump today, Piglet." "What was it doing?" asked Piglet. "It was just lumping around," said Christopher Robin. "I don't think it saw me." "I saw one once," said Piglet. "At least I think I did," he said. "Only perhaps it wasn't." Well, I had to be kind, you know, Darwin. You don't see them often. You don't often see them, said Christopher Robin carelessly. "Not now," said Piglet. "Not at this time of year," said Pooh. Then they all talked about something else until it was time for Pooh and Piglet to go home together. At first they stumped along the path which edged the 100-acre wood. They didn't say much to each other, but when they came to the stream, they'd helped each other across the stepping stones. They were able to walk side by side again over the heather. They began to talk in a friendly way about this and that, and Piglet said, "Oh, hi, Egg. What cursed SCP-looking emo is that?" Henri. Of course it's Henri. Why would it not be Henri? Doo-doo-doo. Let me go figure out where I last read. They began to talk in a friendly way about this and that. Enrico's son, that is concerning. And Piglet said, "If you see what I mean, Pooh," and Pooh said, "It's just what I think myself, Piglet." And Piglet said, "But on the other end, Pooh, we must remember," and Pooh said, "Quite true, Piglet," although I had forgotten it for a moment. And then, just as they came to the 6 pine trees, Pooh looked round to see that nobody else was listening, and said in a very solemn voice, "Piglet, I've decided something." "What have you decided, Pooh?" "I've decided to catch Huffalump." Pooh nodded his head several times as he said this, and waited for Piglet to say, "How?" or "Pooh, you couldn't," or something helpful of that sort. But Piglet said nothing, and the fact that Piglet was wishing that he'd thought about it first. Back to this, and he pressed page down. "I shall do it," said Pooh, after waiting a little longer, "by means of a trap, and it must be a cunning trap, so you have to help me, Piglet." "And you shall have to help me, Piglet." "Pooh," said the Piglet, feeling quite happy again. "I will." And then he said, "How shall we do it?" And Pooh said, "That's just how." Hazy. And then they sat down together to think about it. Pooh's first idea was that they should dig a very deep pit, and then the Heffalump would come along and fall into the pit, and... "Why?" said Piglet. "Why what?" said Pooh. "Why would he fall in?" Pooh rubbed his nose with his paw, and said that the Heffalump might be walking along and humming a little song, and looking up at the sky and wondering if it would rain, and so he couldn't see the very deep pit. He was about halfway, until he was halfway down, when it would be too late. Piglet said that this was a very good trap, but supposing if it were raining already? Pooh rubbed his nose again and said he hadn't thought of that. And then he brightened up and said that, if they were raining already, the Heffalump would be looking at the sky, wondering if it would clear up, and so he wouldn't see the very deep pit until he was halfway down, when it would be too late. Piglet said that. Now that this point had been explained, he thought it was a cunning trap. Pooh was very proud of this when he heard it. Genius. You know, sometimes even my own genius scares me. It frightens me. Oh, it is a rat, meow. A very scary rat. In fact, I even have something for the very scary rat, too. Model lock. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. But I will reset this. Oh no, don't look, it's so sad. Oh, look at the red. No, look it. Yeah. Don't show that again. Wow. They say it's greatly visible. Discrimination of the worst kind, pup. Oh, sue me. How will you sue Daddy, pup? How are you going to sue me? I thought you ought to be dominated, pup. But look at you now. All this suing business. I know. Piglet said that. Now that at this point it had been explained, he thought it was a cunning trap. Pooh was very proud when he heard this, and he felt that the Heffalump was as good as caught already. But there was just one other thing which he had thought about, and that was this. Where should they dig a very deep pit? Piglet said the best place would be somewhere where Heffalump was, just before he fell into it, only about a foot farther on. But then he would see us digging it, said Pooh. Not if he was looking at the sky. He would suspect if it happened to look down. Or if he happened to look down, he thought for a long time, and then he adds sadly, "It isn't as easy as I thought. I suppose that's why Heffalumps hardly ever get caught." "That must be it," said Piglet. They sighed and got up, and then they had taken a few gorse pickles out of themselves. They sat down again, and all the time Pooh was saying to himself, "If only I could think of something," for he felt sure that his very clever brain could catch a Heffalump, if only he knew the right way to go about it. Oh, maybe if you did tell me I wouldn't be able to sue. After this, pup, DMs afterward. Oh, don't worry about that. "I suppose," he said, Piglet, "if you want to catch me, how would you do it?" "Well," said Piglet, "I should do it like this. I would make a trap, and I'll put a jar of honey out in the trap. You would smell it and you'd go in after it, and—" "I would go in after it," said Pooh excitedly, "only very carefully as to not hurt myself. And I'd go get a jar of honey, and I'd look around the edges first of all, pretending that wasn't any more, you know. And then I should walk away and think about it a little, and then I should come back after start licking the middle of the jar, and then—" "Oh, yes, you just looked closed for court purposes, pup. Don't worry. I have plenty of rope for you." Oh, well, never mind about that. Well, never mind about that. There you would be, and there I should catch you. Now the first thing to think of is, what do Heffalumps like? I should think acorns, shouldn't you? We'll get a lot of, I say, wake up, Pooh. Pooh had gone into a happy dream, woke up with a start, and said that honey was a much more trappy thing than acorns. Piglet didn't think so, and they were just going to argue about it. Then Piglet remembered that if they put acorns in the trap, he would have to find the acorns, but if they put honey, then Pooh would have to give up some of his own honey. So he said, "All right, honey then," just as Pooh remembered it, and was going to say, "All right, acorns." "Honey," said Piglet to himself in a thoughtful way, as if it were now settled. "I'll dig the pit. There you go and get the honey." "Very well," said Pooh, and he stumbled off. This isn't bribing. This is #GetCuteGirlBoss. Or whatever you want to call it, but I certainly say this isn't bribing to say that I have a nice gag for you. Some rope that can go around you and be an excellent accessory to your skin. And be excellent on a little pup like you. And we'll get some of those round little Mickey Mouse ears and put them on you. Oh, the noises you'd make, pup. It'd be wonderful. But as everyone can attest to, it's definitely not in any way, shape, or form bribing. As soon as he got home, he went to the larder and he stood on a chair and took down a very large jar of honey from the top shelf. It had honey written, Hunny, written on it, but just to make sure he took the paper cover off and looked at it, and looked just like honey. But you never can tell, said Pooh. I remember my uncle saying one day he'd seen cheese just his color. So he had put his tongue in and took a large look. Yes, he said, it is no doubt about that, and honey, I should say, right down to the bottom of a deep jar. Your Honor, objection, bribing doesn't count if it works. Yes. Oh, I need to add down bad thing too. I'll have to figure that out. Actually, no, I think I can, okay, this is going to, I'll finish this paragraph and I'll go back to it. No doubt about it, I should say, right down to the bottom of a jar, unless, of course, he said, somebody put cheese at the bottom of a jar, at the bottom just for a joke. Perhaps I'd better go in a little further. Wow, this guy has no self-control. He needs help. Just in case heffalumps don't like cheese, same as me. Ah, and he gave a deep sigh. I was right. It was honey, right the way down. Having made certain of this, he took the jar back to Piglet, and Piglet looked at the bottom of his very deep pit and said, got it. Oh, you, when you see us. Oh, yes, ring the down bad pops. I wonder, Hazy, what noises do you make? I know they're cute, but would they be little mouse noises? Oh, yes. I'll read. How much left do I have to read, by the way? Have you made certain? And Piglet looked down at the bottom of his very deep pit and said, oh, God. I had to clean my voice out. I'm gonna mute for just a second. You're down. Oh, yes. You definitely don't want to hear what noise I just made. Got it, and Pooh said yes, but it isn't quite a full jar, and he threw it down to Piglet, and Piglet said, no, it isn't. It's all you got left, and Pooh said yes, because it was. So Piglet put the jar at the bottom of the pit and climbed out, and then they went off home together. Well, good night, Pooh, said Piglet. When they had got to Pooh's house, they said, and when we meet at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning by the pine trees and see how many heffalumps we've got in our trap. 6 o'clock, Piglet. And have you got any string? No, why do we want string? To lead them home with. Oh, I think heffalumps come if you whistle. Some do, some don't. You can never tell if heffalumps. Well, good night. Good night. And off Piglet trotted to his house. Trespassers W, while Pooh made his preparations for bed. Some hours later, just as the night was beginning to steal away, Pooh woke up suddenly with a sinking feeling. He had a sinking feeling before, and he knew what it meant. He was hungry, so he went to the larder and stood in a chair, and reached up to the top shelf and found nothing. That's funny, he thought. I know I had a jar of honey here, a full jar, full of honey right to the top, and it had honey written on it. So I know that it was honey. That's very funny. I began to wander up and down, wondering where it was, and murmuring and murmur to himself like this. It's very, very funny, because I know I had some honey, because it had a label on it saying honey. Galapagos, full up pot 2, and I don't know where I got it to. I don't know where it's gone. Well, that's funny. He had murmured this to himself 3 times in a singing sort of way. Then suddenly he remembered he had put it in a cunning trap to catch a heffalump. Bother, said Pooh. It all comes of trying to be kind to heffalumps. And then he got back to bed. He couldn't sleep. He was more tired. The more he tried to sleep, the more he couldn't. He tried counting sheep, but it was sometimes a good way of getting to sleep, as it was no good. He tried counting heffalumps, and that was worse, because every heffalump that he counted was making straight for a pot of Pooh's honey and eating it all. For some minutes he lay there miserably, but when the 587th heffalump was licking its jaws and saying to itself, "Very good honey, this. I don't know when I tasted better." Pooh couldn't bear it no longer. He jumped out of bed and ran to the house. He ran straight for the 6 pine trees. "Mouse!" "Welcome in, Mouse. Do enjoy yourself, please. And tell me how you've been. You've catched one of my random streams yet again. And, I guess, hoi hoi." Yeah, if you have any redeems, Mousy Mouse, feel free to type in chat. The sun was still in bed, but there was a lightness in the sky over the 100-acre wood, which seemed to show that it was waking up and soon be kicking off the clothes. It was half like the pine trees looked cold and lonely, and the very deep pit seemed deeper than it was, and Pooh's jar of honey at the bottom was something mysterious, a shape and no more, but as he got nearer and nearer to it, his nose told him that was indeed honey, and his tongue came out and began to polish his mouth. Oh, burping time again. I burped. And his tongue came out and began to polish up with his nose, ready for it. "Bother," said Pooh. "Oh, you see, Mouse, there's a rat pup in here. And a mouse. I know we got the whole zoo in its entirety. How beautiful." "Bother," said Pooh, as he got up his nose inside the jar. "A heffalump has begun eating it," and he fought a little and said, "Oh no, I did. I forgot." Oh no, there's even a cat too. Indeed, he had eaten most of it, but there's a little left at the bottom, or the very bottom of the jar, and he pushed his head right in it and began to lick. And bye, Piglet woke up. As soon as he woke up, he said to himself, "Oh." Then he bravely said yes, and then, still more bravely, "Quite so." He didn't feel very brave, but the word was very jittering about his brain. Heffalumps. "Oh, we can try a lot of things, cat. I can call you a good girl and wait for you just to do some stuff. Perhaps become too blushed for a moment, and then you become caught on alarm. Oh no." What was the heffalump like? Was it fierce? Did it come when you whistled? How did it come? Was it fond of pigs at all? If it was fond of pigs, did it make any difference what sort of pig? Supposing it was fierce with pigs, would it make any difference if a pig had a grandfather called Trespassers William? He didn't know the answer of any of these questions, and when he was going to see the first heffalump in about an hour from now, of course Pooh would be with him and was much more friendly with two. But suppose heffalumps were very fierce with pigs and bears? Oh, look. If we're going by branding, I'm weighing this thing by sheer size. Woof. Oh, look at you, puppy. Woofing right now. I wonder what's making you be like this. It isn't me like normal. Of course, Pooh would be with him, and he is much more friendly with two, but I suppose heffalumps are very fierce with pigs and bears. Wouldn't it be better to pretend if he had a headache and couldn't go up 6 pine trees this morning? But then I suppose it is a very fine day and there's no heffalump in the trap. Here he would be in bed all morning, simply wasting his time for nothing. What should he do? Then he had a clever idea. He would go up very quietly to the 6 acres trees, peep very cautiously into the trap, and see if there was a heffalump there. And if there was, he'd go back to bed, and if there wasn't, he wouldn't. So off he went. At first he thought that there wouldn't be a heffalump in the trap. Then he thought that there would, and as he got nearer, he was sure that there would. He could hear the heffalomping about it, and he could hear the heffalomping about it like anything, and so off he went. Ooh, wiggle time. Dun 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 dun. Wiggle a bit. Ooh, I got a song I could play. Let me just go get Chrome here. Chrome. There we go. I have a perfect song for wiggle a bit. Okay, you're going to tell me how it sounds, okay? It might be very loud for you. I'll do a sound check here. Okay, wiggle a bit. Oh yeah, that's far too quiet. Okay, Twitch. And Chrome. There we go. There we go.
Hi hi.
Oh, thank you, Vitor. Okay. Wiggle a bit. Cute amount. Starting to get a bit of vertigo. Oh. Now that made me a little nauseous. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, bedroom song. Oh, darling, you just won't be wiggling a little bit. We're going to be wiggling and jiggling and vibrating. Much more than just a little wiggle. And thank you for the resub, Vitor. It always means great things whenever you come here, you know. And give me that sub out of your generosity. Thank you. Okay. Ooh, let me scroll up here. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, said Piglet to himself. He wanted to run away, but somehow, having got so near, he felt that he must see what a heffalump was like. So he crept into the side of the trap and looked in. And all the time, Winnie the Pooh had been trying to get the jar of honey off his head. The more he shook it, the more tightly it stuck. Oh, hi, Egg. How do you do? Yes, I have some food here, and I'm going to be honest, after chapter 5, I'm probably going to end stream and then go eat some food and then perhaps have some fun with a pup. I'm not quite sure today. Okay, let me just figure out where I last was. Bother, he said, inside the jar, and oh help, and mostly ow, as he tried bumping against things, but as he couldn't see what he was bumping against, he couldn't help. He could try to climb out of the trap, but as he could see nothing but the jar, and not much of it, he couldn't find his way. So at last he lifted up his head, jar and all, and made a loud, roaring noise of sadness and despair. It was at that moment that Piglet looked down. Help, help, cried Piglet, a heffalump, a horrible heffalump, as he scampered off as hard as he could, still crying out, help, help, a horrible heffalump. Oh yes, Vittori, I have a puppy and a pup. And welcome in, Pastel. I don't quite know what, yes. Happy New Year to you, darling. No. Not a horrible, howlable heffalump, a huffable hellerump. And he didn't stop crying and scampering until he got to Christopher Robin's house. Oh, you want pics of the puppy? I mean, I certainly do have plenty of pics to send you. And thank you for the, Happy New Year from Europa. It means a lot coming from you, Pastel, since you've been here for so long. Who's that cock on your mouth? Oh, I know he means Hazy, but why not send me pictures of the other pup? Whatever's the matter, Piglet, said Christopher Robin, who was just getting up. Half, said Piglet, breathing so hard he could hardly speak. Oh yes, Hazy. It's time for you to send me some nice 5 pics. You don't have to, of course. It's fully within your volition. I don't want to force you to do anything you don't want to, pup. Though, seeing that look in your eyes when I do something to you, now that would be nice. Up there is a Piglet waving his paw. What did it look like? Like at the biggest head you ever saw, Christopher Robin. Oh. Welcome back, Mousy. Oh, yes. Well, it won't be completely for free, has he? I'll have to have some fun with you. A huge, big, well... No. Yes, I'd certainly have to do some fun things. Okay, let me just finish this story very quickly, Mouse, and then I'll do it. I don't know, enormous like a jar. Well, said Christopher Robin, putting on his shoes. I shall go and look at it. Come on. Piglet wasn't afraid if he had Christopher Robin with him, so off they went. I can't hear it, can you? Said Piglet anxiously. As they got near, I can hear something, said Christopher Robin. But it was Pooh bumping his head against a tree he had found. There, said Piglet, isn't it awful? And he held on tight to Christopher Robin's hand. Suddenly Christopher Robin began to laugh, and he laughed, and he laughed, and he laughed. All the while he was still laughing. Crash went the half-lump's head against a tree root. Smash went the jar, and out came Pooh's head again. You don't have to give me booty wussy effect. You don't have to give me those, but I'm sure when we're having fun you can send me some other stuff. Then Piglet saw what a foolish piglet he had been. He was so ashamed of himself that he ran straight off home and went to bed with a headache. But Christopher Robin and Pooh went back home to breakfast together. Oh, Bear, said Christopher Robin, how do I love you? So do I, said Pooh. Oh, you still have to record it, do you, Hazy? it is a wonderful toy. And it does look like it gives you plenty of fun. So that was chapter 5 of Winnie the Pooh. And I think I'm going to end at that point, darling. So, I wish you all a wonderful time, many delicious lickings, and so much more, you know. We, unpause the cat here. There. So, I have decided that we are going to rate this wonderful person. They're absolutely wonderful, and I greatly recommend them. They're beautiful in every way, and they need to, embrace the scuff. Okay. Okay. So, bye-bye, everyone. And, it's not the audacity, Hazy. After all, we can do so much more in a little voice call. But that personal rating is a beautiful Meowric VT. They're beautiful, and I recommend them to everyone. Bye-bye now. Cheers, and drink plenty of water, darling.